WGPR Detroit HD2.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
My name is Watson.
And my name is Mariah.
We're 12 years old.
And we're representing Redford Academy Middle School. And we're here to talk about drugs. Drugs are very dangerous and unhealthy.
And they can also ruin a relationship with your loved ones. Go talk to a family member, a friend, even a teacher, or you can go to a therapist, or if you need any extra help, you can go online and find all of those.
Hashtag not worth it.
Good day, good people. Thank you for joining us for another exciting and dynamic episode of Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by Detroit Native Sun. I am your co-host, Heather Hedharu, and today our topic for discussion is healthy relationships and healthy marriage, in particular, healthy marriage. And my guest today is activist, agent of change, man of the hour, Calvin T. Man, who just happens to be my husband. And Calvin, I thank you for joining me today on Expose Under the Sun as we talk a little bit about healthy marriages and healthy relationships. So before you get started, I want to share a couple of facts about marriage that I found that I thought was really interesting, especially about marriages in Michigan. So what I found was that, and some of these statistics are 2018, some of them are from 2020, so just bear with me as I share this really important stats with you about marriage. So according to the vital statistics in 2018, the marriage rate for Wayne County in particular was 7,800 marriages and 4,200 divorces. For Oakland County, it was 7,000 marriages and 3,200 divorces. But for the state of Michigan total, there was 56,000 marriages and 28,000 divorces. So we want to talk a little bit about today why marriage and healthy marriage is important, but why marriage is important to what I refer to as the spiritual economy. So the spiritual economy, some people look at it as generational curses or generational blessings. So I want to talk a little bit about today some of the mechanics of healthy relationships, how we stay in healthy relationships, kind of what it looks like. And for those of you like me who have been married more than one or two times, and you're at lucky number 3 or striving to reach lucky number 3, like I had to do, there is hope. There is hope. There is hope for a healthy marriage, even during the process and even during the times where you're learning more about yourself. And a lot of this is a lot about self-work. So, Calvin, can you share a little bit about your work with boys, men, husbands, and fathers to give us some perspective about what it looks like from your point of view?
Well, we have to, first of all, acknowledge that healthy relationships is possible. I think that's the most important thing. And having a healthy spouse, male spouse, is also possible. I think we bought into a different number of narratives that painted a different picture for our males. And because of that, I think the marriage thing, how it's supposed to look, and the direction we're supposed to go as men in healthy relationships can come under a different view. I could only have just a little bit of information and demand my way into divorce, right? Because I'd only have just a little bit of information. So for me and the work that we do, we teach leadership. Why is it important to teach leadership? It's important to teach leadership because at some point that boy turns into a man, becomes a husband, then becomes a father. Having order is your best chance,
Okay.
period.
That makes a lot of sense. And so that would make the same for women, right? We have girls who become women, who become wives, and then become mothers, right? We're talking about order. So we're talking about the balance between male and female, masculine and feminine.
But
So that's really important too.
and that's the conditioning has shifted all of that.
And talk to me about when you say conditioning, what do you mean by that?
Well, culturally, we followed a certain order. United States wide, we follow a different order, right? We somehow have gotten to the place where the male doesn't have his place, his spot, his conversation, his leadership, his guidance, the gifts that God gave men. We ignore them and put our entire family, children, everyone in trouble. Because we ignore, we don't compromise, we don't work together, and so we lifted up mama so high, right? And because of the conditioning that has been done to us, we pushed down dad and the husband and the man and the boy.
Wow, that's a pretty dynamic way to look at this whole circumstance that we're in. So we don't want to talk so much about what has been. We're going to talk more about what we can do as we're moving forward. So another statistic, which is a good one, that I like to share, in 2020, the number of weddings that occurred, at least in the state of Michigan, was over 33,000 people got married in 2020.
Oh yeah, COVID shook it up.
33,000. So we're going to talk about, for those 33,000 and those who are in relationships now, looking to be in healthy relationships, looking to transition into healthy marriage relationships. We're going to talk a little bit about some strategies as we talk, for the next few minutes. But just a sidebar, the cost of those 33,000 weddings, the average cost of a wedding was $17,700. The average cost of a wedding in 2020.
Oh, we cheated ourselves, baby.
Yeah, I'd like to say that we had a very modest,
Right.
very,
Right, we cheated.
very modest.
Well, we
wedding.
understood we understood the meaning.
Right. So, my first question for you is, what do you consider first a healthy relationship, and then what is a healthy marriage to you?
Tough question. So a healthy relationship most definitely involves a healthy personal perspective of yourself.
Okay.
You have to understand that if you don't fix all these little broken pieces that you blame others for, your relationships will always be in jeopardy. Because you blame other people for what they're required to give you to make you happy, but you've done none of these things that's required to make you happy to fix the things that are wrong. And so because of that, you will project in a relationship consistently what you need versus what we need. So that's the first thing. I think to get into healthy relationships, we have to really go inside and repair all the mischief, the lies, the stories, the make-believe stories, all the things that we've told ourselves that we are this great being, and evaluate that and make sure that that is something that when you get with someone, you're willing to compromise, you're willing to come to a consensus, and you're willing to play whatever role you both decide in decision-making and in communication.
Wow, that's pretty strong. I'd like to say just to add to what you said about healthy relationships begin within, and so and fixing those broken pieces, but also filling those missing pieces of information. I think that's really important. One of the the healthiest places to start, and I know I've talked about this before, and if you know me, this is my mantra, has been my mantra for this last year, is that you have to be able to find your joy. You have to be able to find your joy. If you don't know what makes you happy for you, and that's happy without saying I'm happy because I've done this for somebody else, or I like to see other people happy when I do this for them. We're not talking about happiness and joy on that level. We're talking about the things that bring you happiness and peace that do not harm or necessarily require other people to do it. So part of that would be like exploring your gifts. So one of your gifts is singing, but you have so many more gifts, right? Another one of your gifts is writing. Another one of your gifts is appreciation of art. So if you're not putting yourself into spaces where you can go and look at art and be moved by it, if you're not doing that for you, then you're not completely living your joy. And so the joy that you're looking for in your life, when you don't do the work, what you do is tend to look for somebody else to bring you that feeling of joy. And I think that's kind of where we get lost in our relationships and trying to have healthy relationships. What we feel or what we want to feel in the areas that we are happy or feel most happy or most complete, we're looking for somebody else to complete that, as opposed to finding the things that bring us joy for the sake of the experience of joy for us. You had a
The
thought?
expectation,
Yes.
right? We talk about that all the time, right? So the expectation. So here's my expectation. You're expected to do all these things for me, and I'm just going to give you very little in return. That expectation literally destroys the entire relationship. As a matter of fact, I'll go this far and say, on the healthy aspects of the relationship, touch and communication and listening are ultimately important too. So many people go so long without just a hug. So many people go so long without just a touch. And so many people, when I'm dependent on you to make me happy, I frown, pout, walk around the house. And these are the things that I expected you to do for me. In return, I miss what I'm supposed to do for you. We miss these things, right? We don't communicate these things. Here, I don't say nice things to you every day, right? We do because we found joy. But in the process, that wasn't what it was like every day. I penalize you. When I go to bed mad, I'm mad at you. I'm going to hang on to that. Then I got to go. That's eating away at your spirit. These are the things that push men out into the street as well as women. These are the things that harm a healthy relationship, because the touch, the listening, the walls that I have built up, you don't even know about the first. One of the things I expressed to you when we got together was about, I can see each and every one of the walls. I got to get beyond the wall, the one wall that you protect, where that little girl sits. Men don't have the skill to get there, and women don't have the skill to let you in there. You have to be able to get in there to get to her, to protect her, so she can buy in to the security. You can never damage wall one. But a lot of times what happens is once we conquer something, we think we've conquered it all. And that's the process of a healthy relationship, that we have to get into these places and spaces of loving each other better, not manipulative behavior, not just because I want something, but more so because I love you.
So you said three really, really key things.
Well, you said come in threes.
I did. And so the one I want to talk about is when you refer to the walls, I want to make sure that we're looking at that the same, that the wall actually is the level of trust between the man and the woman, or between the two people in the relationship. So that's the first one. The second second aspect that you mentioned was that the healthy part of it, the healthy dynamic of giving, being able to give and receive. trying to do that equally, but sometimes as you're building, because you're building trust, you also need to know that person's love language. And so if you've seen any of my books, so I have a book called 100 Ways to Love Her and 25 Ways to Love Him. There's a difference in the number of things that you have to do for him, which is different for the number of things that have to be done for her, right? We require a lot of expression of intimacy, of care and trust in order to build relationships, because we're looking at where we've been in the past and now where we're trying to go in the future, and we're trying to look at things differently. And so for men, they don't require as much as women do, hence the 25 ways to love him. I'm not saying what he requires isn't important, those 25 things isn't important, but what we look at typically is what is important to a man is the level of respect that he gains or the admiration that he has from the person, his significant other. And for her, ours is we need the show of love, what we consider what love is. And so the third thing is that we have to be able to define love. So one of the exercises I want you to do today is to use the word love and substitute another word for it, another action word for it. Not just what the emotional response is, but what's the action that is connected to the word love. And then I'm going to refer you to, if you don't have a standard at all and you say, well, I don't really know what love is, I'm going to direct you. And this is not about it being a religious a tool, but I want you to at least consider starting at 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the one that we hear often that says love is patient, love is kind. So if you start there and you look at some of the other requirements or some of the other things that it shares, which I think I'll share at this time, because last time I wanted to make sure I got I wanted to get that verse correct. First, that is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. So I'm just going to read this. This is from the NIV version, and I'm just going to I'm going to jump in at verse 4. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 13. I'm starting at verse 4. So first thing says, love is patient, love is kind. That's one, right? It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. So, and then chapter 8, it captures this whole meaning that says love never fails. So I wanna pull out some things that you said that speaks to healthy relationships and healthy marriages. You're smiling. So I want to pull out one that you said about going to bed angry, right? That would talk about is not one, that's pride, and two, it may be that it is not easily angered. Go ahead.
My man Ken Lucas, I asked this question one day, and Ken, being of sound mind and sound body, said, "We just not going to bed angry." He said that has been something that he works at diligently for him and his wife, not to go to bed angry, right? And working at that, that's real work.
That's real work.
It's real work. Not going to bed angry, it takes real work, but that's the self work that we miss on
Yes.
what we want for ourselves. I'm not required, right? This is for me, not to bring that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we bring so much bull to the table because it's just that's that selfishness that it's just about me. But when you was reading it, I laughed because in that communication, in that the scripture, it's a unified reading. It's not her love or his love, it's love, right?
Right.
And that action, right? How you play out that action is key,
Absolutely.
right? So because like one of the shirts is God is a verb.
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. Action, right? What type of action am I applying or bringing to your life? If it's all about me, we're not going to make it.
Right.
If it's just about me, what I want, when I want, if I'm going to be a 5-year-old consistently, we are not going to make it. The relationship is going to burn,
Yes.
period.
And so, and I'm going to share with you one of the main, I don't want to call this a secret because it shouldn't be a secret. So I'm going to make it public. One of the main components to my relationship and my marriage being healthy for number 3 is this is the first time in my relationship that I actually have an active participant being God in my relationship. So God is actively in my relationship. When I get into a misunderstanding with my husband, it's 2 things I do. I say, God, get your boy, show me my stuff. And really, and within minutes, it doesn't take long for the reconciliation to happen because I'm looking at my stuff. I'm not just looking at his stuff. I'm saying get your boy because I'm probably mad at him or I'm mad about what happened. But I'm also better at separating the action from the person. Because we may have a disagreement about something doesn't mean that I have any less feelings for him. That was huge. That's huge in a way that I hadn't expected or experienced in my previous relationships. If I was mad about the act, I was also mad at the person, and I acted angry toward that person. And so that was a big miss for me in my past relationships. And I carried that, and I held that, and I held that against him. And it was almost like adding a tally for debits and credits from his actions, which was not another healthy way that I was in managing my relationship. So,
And so when you do that, who do you bring with you? Your previous relationships,
my
your
previous
previous
relationships,
steps,
yes.
your previous problems,
Yes.
you bring all of that with you, right into, so you never had a break. You never took that time, right? So all of that stuff is sit there, and you can carry it for years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that pain brings other pain, creates other pain, creates other pain. Doesn't have any rules. It just comes with you.
Yeah.
And then when you find what God has for you, you finally get what God has for you, and you done brought all of that into
We call it baggage.
what God has for you. And God is telling you, this is not the one. And because you didn't do that work, this person may have been the best person, but you're not your best, so you can't keep them.
Oh, yes.
That's tough.
That's hard. That's
tough.
hard. So what it speaks
tough.
to is the self work that we have to do. We have to do the self work. That means that in the areas that we feel broken, in the areas that people have shared with us that this is something that you do that annoys me, and you hear that enough times, that's giving you a clue that this may be some area that you need to address and fix and heal. So healing in those areas is really important to healing and healthy relationships. So if you pay attention to the word healthy, at the core of healthy is the word heal, Heal. So if you want healthy and you're not healing, then you can't have them both. You can have a pseudo healthy, semi relationship, but it may not be healthy because the core of being healthy is healed.
You know what I admire that we do, right?
What's
In this process, we never let money intervene. That is such a powerful thing. We never place a high priority on letting money intervene in what we do. We always work forward, not backwards.
Mm-hmm.
We never give money more power over what we have and what we do.
And I would say it's more than just not giving money the power. I say it's giving the circumstance the power.
Yeah, no, I that's okay. Agreement, but
Yeah.
I'm saying, oftentimes, the driving force is outside of the blessing for what God has given us,
Absolutely.
which is each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the very bare bones.
The
The
very
very
bare
bare bones is being able to have someone that you can communicate with, that you can start breaking down those walls.
You can trust.
You can trust.
I
Trust
could-
is
You
huge.
can tell this person your first thought.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
say that to you all the time.
Yes.
I love the fact that I can tell you my first thought and it not be judged.
No.
It not become about you. I can share it. You know what? I had this crazy dream. I can share my first thought. That is such a freeing process because that trust is cared for. I don't have to worry
Yes.
about it being heard over here, over there, over there,
Or seen on social
or
media.
seen on social media.
Right. I think that's another area where as couples we so often get lost when we're trying to present this image, this public image about, everything being well, and even when it's not well. I think part of that healthy behavior is the person that we need to be being bearing those issues or concerns or those exciting times, those triumphs that we're having. Yes, it should be with your significant other, but also just to make sure that you're maintaining the integrity of your relationship. That's not a public display. And so, and this is no charge against people who celebrate their relationships that way or celebrate their triumphs that way and their victories that way. By all means, do so. Celebrate those victories. Celebrate every good thing, every good and perfect gift. Celebrate that. What I'm sharing with you is that there are some things that remain, that should remain in the confines of your relationship and building inward and making sure that those are areas that are actually healed and healthy as opposed to just being something that an image that's being displayed, because a lot of us tend to hide behind the mask of social media. We hide behind the mask of,
Oh
certain
yeah, we
things that
got
we
our fronts
experience.
up.
And so when you mask it, that's not being healed or healing those areas that are causing us the most difficulty. So as we kind of wind down the show today, first I want to ask you to give us some ways to reach you if there are people who are out there who want to connect with you, boys, men, husbands, or fathers. How do they reach you, Calvin?
Okay, so first of all, you can reach me at thegoodfathersonly.com, emmyworld.com. If you want to call, you can call 313-638-3649. That'll bring you right to me. Email info at thegoodfathersonly.com. Right. You can also reach me directly at calvintman@gmail. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. We're in a number of places. We're very, very visible for this journey. And
Yes.
so it's not hard to find me.
Thank you. So you can also Google you and reach at any of those
Well,
areas too, right?
Yeah, you can Google me, but that people, yeah, Google.
Well, sometimes people need to just have a easy way to get to it. And if you Google Calvin T Man, you can find him there. You can
Yeah,
find him on
Google.
most social media outlets. You can find him there.
Right.
That's important to be able to reach out to someone. Calvin provides one-on-one coaching for boys, men, husbands, and fathers. He's part of a network of fatherhood organizations across the country and across the world that are a part of this whole movement around how we can help our boys, men, husbands, and fathers have healthy relationships with their families, healthy relationships with their mates, healthy relationships with their children. So that's really important. So if you want to connect in that way, do reach him there. If you want to reach out to me at any time, please go to my website. You can find all my resources there. That is yourinspiredjourney.com. Again, that's yourinspiredjourney.com. You can look up my books that are on Amazon. The resources are there for you. You can look me up at Personal Change Coach Heather Hetheru on YouTube. Look at some of my videos, listen to some of my blog talk radio. We are here because our calling and our purpose demands that we offer resources to help people on the journey of self-exploration and healing. So we want to make sure that you have any final closing words that you want to share with our listeners today?
Yes. I think it's important that we understand how powerful it is to be a family. I think it's important that we understand how much work it takes to be in a marriage, I think it's important that we fight for those good things versus fight for the opposite. And what I mean by fighting, I don't mean fighting in abuse. I don't mean fighting. I'm saying fighting by work. Put in that work where you can keep the very things that's valuable to you together. Put your family first is my motto.
Thank you. And as we're closing today, I just want to thank you for joining us for another dynamic episode of Expose Under the Sun. I am your co-host, Heather Hedharu, and my co-host, Darren Griffin, will be joining us next week. And if you have interest in advertising, please contact Valerie at 313-457-5944. That's for our online Detroit Native Sun news. That is for the newspaper or to help sponsor this show. So we thank you for your time today. Good people, we hope that what we shared with you helped you in some ways and that you can connect with us at some good time. Thank you. Have an awesome day.